Mike.
Hey, Robbie.
How are you, man?
Doing fine. Doing fine.
Doing fine?
Yeah.
You usually seem a little more... Did you just get out of yoga?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, it's
okay.
They move it to... My class is 9:30s on... It's 8:30 every day except today. It's 9:30 for some reason.
Oh, they're switching it up on you?
Well, I think it's always been switched up. I think I just got to get used to it. I just got to fake it till I make it, man.
Oh, I hear you, man. I had to fake it till I made it on Tuesday and Wednesday.
Did you?
Yeah, definitely had to. Just I wasn't feeling it. It wasn't that. I didn't have it there. Didn't have any motivation. It was a little low on energy. Hayden's sick, and his sleep's been just like way off, and that always hurts us. And
that means your sleep's way off, huh?
It means my sleep's way off, and that's always kind of a kicker. But when you, it's funny. Like people like just assume that you have to have, or that it's expected of you to have motivation when you don't have any energy.
Yep.
Like it's a flaw. Like I had an athlete text me yesterday. It's like, it's pouring down rain outside. I didn't sleep that much. I don't feel good, and this is also wrong. And I just can't find the motivation. I was like, well, no shit. Mm. Like it's like you got to have energy to have motivation. Like it's not like a like an assault on your ability to commit to something. But the days you don't have motivation, like for me, that was Tuesday, Wednesday, because I just didn't have the energy. I still did things. I did move some workouts around. I didn't take a day off. I still found a way to get my workouts in. Yesterday especially, and Tuesday I just did a swim only. I was gonna swim and run, but I got done with my swim and I just was shelled. And I was like, I may be coming down with something, so I don't want to. Because usually if Hayden gets it, I get it. And so does Allie. That's kind of how it works when you have a little kid. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna use today. I just did the swim, and then I woke up yesterday and I felt a little bit better. Then I woke up this morning and felt like $1 million. Had a great run this morning, and so I had to fake it Tuesday and Wednesday and kind of fall back on just my commitment to getting it in, and even if it wasn't pretty, just being happy with doing it. And was glad that I did, because like I said, this morning felt great.
I'm glad you're back.
I mean, I never really left.
No, I wasn't sure. We text a lot. We can't always gauge each other's state of mind necessarily. You know how that goes. And I was wondering. I know you've been on a great roll, and then I saw you post that 5-stepper today. Is that what you'd call that?
Yeah, what I call. Maybe we should make that like instead of C26 12 steps, we can do like C26 5-step book.
The 5 steps, yeah.
Yeah, the 5 steps. Just go get up every day and work the 5 steps.
That's not a bad idea, actually. Because I was looking at that going, I was trying to figure out where I fit in there, because this yoga experiment has been very interesting. And I'll tell you why. Because it has really reminded me that I think I've been pouring gas on a fire over the last 5 or 6 years without taking a step back. I almost feel like I'm in reconstruction phase, but even more so, almost I feel like I'm in deconstruction phase to reconstruct, because I can it's amazing to me how I'm already feeling stronger, and a little bit more balanced and whatever, but I can just tell how ridiculously tight I am, and doing what I would consider sort of like a running. I don't know how much yoga you've done, but like just sort of these
0.
Yeah, there's sort of these lunge poses almost, and the unbelievable tightness I feel in my hip has just got me perplexed right now. And just making that, it's basically a run move, and it's like a sprint move, but to realize that movement isn't free in my body right now has been kind of a little bit of a wake up call.
So like it's time to really, really address it. address the elephant in the room?
I think so. Yeah, because the longer, I mean, I can, speaking of fake it till you make it, I've been kind of like, you can push through stuff and everything like that, but man, without having freedom and pleasure in that movement, after a while that just sort of, brings you down, right?
For sure.
Yeah, it's like, just if you have to, like, if, for example, if you keep faking it through until you make it, if you're not dieting right and you're not doing the right stuff, you're not sleeping, and you get up every day and keep trying to power through that day when things are like off center and off whack, nutritionally or rest wise, recovery wise, eventually it's going to beat you.
Yeah.
So there has to be a point when you got to really look at the core issues. I think it's sort of like with the diet thing. It's like people are always tired. Well, and I go through that. I've had this sort of like lifestyle of, I think I've been kind of blessed with some pretty good genes and like tough genes, and you can kind of power through things. But like I said, eventually you just kind of want to look at it and reevaluate and kind of just build, clean out your foundation a little bit or something.
Well, I mean, you bring up a good point. Like, there's a really fine line, and I think you really have to kind of know your body in order to be like, is this the day to push through that and address it, or is today the day to like ease into it and like something's better than nothing, or is this a day where I can just see if I'm just, because I don't know, I have like, I've dealt with athletes in the past too, and this was like one of the things that I learned kind of growing up was like, there's a huge difference in being hurt and being injured.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I think we think our way into injury when we're just kind of hurt, like or hurting. Like, it's like you don't need to go to the PT or the doctor for like the smallest little like twinge. Like, it's just a lot of times it's just part of it.
Yeah.
Do you need to maybe like run easier versus running harder? Sure. Or it's like, and sometimes it's just like getting out the door, and you can make the decision then. But to what you're saying, like, it's the more you do those things, you're like, all right, well, maybe the more oftentimes this thing happens, I need to address more than just the fixing the result of what I have now, but I need to also look back and see what I need to do in order to prevent it from continuing to happen.
Correct.
And that is a tough one. But it's, and again, it goes back to so many things we talk about, but like, it's not flashy, it's not fun, but it's just like, I know that if I don't do this, I'm not going to have the opportunity to do all these other things. And I mean, that's like one of the hardest things that people deal with. I was talking to my buddy earlier this week, and everybody, it's like when people do certain things for other people. Like for me, it's like when I chose to get sober, it wasn't for Allie or Hayden or anybody else. It was for me.
Right. But
I wouldn't have any of the things now if I didn't do that.
Right. I mean, they're much better off because of it.
Oh, for sure. I mean, everybody. I mean, anybody it's all. But that's how these kind of things are. Like, if you want all the great things to happen, and you want to reach all these goals, and you want to, reach the pinnacle of your, what you think your potential is in 2018. Then you got to do the things that people don't see.
Yeah.
You got to do the things that will get you there. Like, you can't just wake up one day, and that's the thing. Like, it's also like the age we live in is like we live in an age of quick fixes, and these spectacular remedies and these hacks. But like, the simplest answers are just like, you got to do all these little bitty things each day and just do them every day, and the end result is something spectacular. Right. Versus, oh crap, well, I did this, now I got to go fix it. And fixing thing is always the worst. Yeah.
That's a really good, I think that's a good comparison actually to what I'm talking about, is how you had to go through a lot of, you had to reconstruct and deconstruct, and when you began that process in rehab, and that is not easy. It's patience and painful and things like that, but in the long run is what you got to look at. So I think about where I'm at. I'm a little bit older. I started the sport late, but I went on it hard for 5 years or 6 years now, and it's just catching up with me. It's like I got a friend who loves running. He's been a run. He's kind of picked it up around the same time I did and got into it. And he posted the other day that he said, he doesn't live around here, but so I don't talk to him much. But he said, I've tried everything, and I'm sorry to say that I think I might have to give up running or something like that. And he because of injury or whatever it is, and I don't even know what it was, but it reminded me of something I heard the other day. And this guy was talking about like running injuries and things that happen and stuff like that. So like say you have a little tweak in your left Achilles, or for example, it's a little sore, tender, or whatever.
Right.
So let's say what happens is you go out for a run, and what naturally will happen is you'll try to compensate for that on your right side, right? And he said, let's just say, for example, you shift 10 pounds of pain, or 10 pounds of your weight, onto your right foot to compensate for that pain, to make it easier and runnable. And over the course of a mile, that translates into something like 7,000 pounds or something like that, based on steps. So if you do a 10-mile run, you can start to see how that could really start putting a problem into your right side. Right. And then so now all of a sudden you got a problem in your right leg, somewhere, your knee or ankle or whatever like that, and you're trying to go back the other way, but you can't because you got the Achilles thing, and then all of a sudden that pain moves somewhere else, maybe into your back or something like that. And it's just a very interesting thing to think about, how if you don't address and be patient with taking care of what the actual issue is at the time, and that could be mental or physical, really, and start overcompensating with other stuff, it's just going to throw other things out of whack. So
yeah, when
you break down, what you went through in the beginning of, your recovery and stuff like that, I'm sure that you had to really look at things and, fix them and then move on and that sort of stuff like that.
Yeah, you have to look at you have to think of the big picture, but start with the brush. Like you can't just, and everybody just wants to go so freaking fast. Yeah. Sometimes. Yeah. It's like I had an athlete earlier who was just like always wants to go fast, and he part of his Training Peaks comments today was let's see what it said. It was something about sculling, which was in part of one of our squad workouts this week, which is a drill that you use to kind of really help you get a feel for the water in your forearm and your catch. And he said, I feel like sculling is a waste of time. Convince me it's not, and I'll keep doing it. I feel like it's so little bang for the buck. And I said the sculling is to help you get and maintain a good feel for the water in your forearm. I also don't waste people's time. But again, this comes down to slowing down and not being in a hurry. Not everything done well has to be done fast. Mm-hmm. And so a sculling, if you don't know, like it's a drill that it does take it takes time. Like it's in order to go a length of the pool. It's like the equivalent of like just getting on a kickboard. And so it takes time, and it's like it doesn't, and it's not easy, and it's hard for people to wrap their mind around certain things like that. But or little things that make things specific in order for you to do, X, Y, and Z. It's like you always want to be Z, but you never want to think about, A through Y. We just jump. And, it's like the letters in the middle, the M and the N, like in the O, like they get drowned out because you never see them. It's always the beginning result and the end result. It's that's that no such thing as an overnight success. We talked about before. It's just like you work hard, you do things right, and then one day you finally get there. And just because people just, you made a huge splash on the scene and people just saw it, doesn't mean that it happened overnight. It happened over probably 1,000 nights of you doing all the things that were required and to do it. And that's again why this time of year is so difficult. It is very much working in the shadows. Very much doing things where you can't show anybody, or no races are there, and it's just a microcosm of, things like you're talking about with your imbalances or your hamstrings or whatever. It's just like, no, it's not fun to do that. I can't, like, who wants to post their 20-minute routine of evening out their hamstrings on Strava or Garmin or Training Peaks? It's like, but if you want to get to X, Y, and Z, and then you want to, yeah, it's like, I mean, it's hard, but it's the people who are the most successful are the ones that are the most consistent. Like, it's just, there is no secret. And the biggest reason people fail, or they don't meet their expectations, it's like every day you're not consistent, you give yourself another excuse to use down the road. And and again, like I talked about on the Monday podcast, like that's why this hard at this time of the year is, it's a total shift in like where I have to draw from as a coach, because it's like so many people struggle. And it's it's either up or way down. It's not the slow burn. It's just like, I want to either be a blazing bonfire, or I want to be like a wet match, and it's just like nothing in between. But it's the ones that just love to be consistent and don't like to miss, because they want to really, really figure it out, and they've just totally let go of I want this. They never say it, like, I want. It never comes out of their mouth, ever. I want. It's, yeah, I really hope to keep this on track, or I'm just committed to doing better, or I don't want to miss anything. It's not like I want to PR. It's just like, I want to see how good I can be. I like what being committed does for me. I like what it does for my body. I like what it does for my mind, and I know that that's what the results lie. It's not 1 day on, 4 days off, 1 day's on, 4 days off. So until you can find yourself in that place, like pump the brakes on your, only talking about your, like, the more people talk about their race schedule, and the more people talk about new gear, the more people talk about last year, the less focused they are. Because future races can also be nothing but distractions. I've got time to work for them. They'll all be there. I'm training for this, instead of I just want this week to go with no missed workouts. And you won't just like wake up one day and be there. I'm not saying that that's like feasible, because it's not. But once you find yourself there, take note of it. Remember what it feels like to be consistent. Remember the way it made you feel. And if you need to pick, like, honestly, something as little for people who have done even like the longest of events, even picking something as short as like I have an athlete who's just kind of been going in and out of motivation, and this athlete was like, you know what, I'm going to do this 5 miler in X number of days, and I want to do this. So 5 miler, she does runs longer than that in training, but sometimes I think it's not the race that you want. Is you want to just immerse yourself back into being so committed to wanting to really do well, to remind yourself what it feels like, because that's really what we crave. It's and we talked about this way back in the Ironman, and I had a conversation with Brandon Clark about, it's like doing like when you do a race, your first sprint, your first Olympic, your first 70.3, your first Ironman, whatever it is, like, it's not the race that makes the biggest difference. It's who you become in the process, and then who you influence around you, and who you give power to show them that they can do the same thing. Because we hear it all the time. It's like when people do these things, their friends and family are like, oh my God, I can't believe you've done this. It's inspired me to do this. Yep. And the power you get from that is like the ultimate buzz to know that you've had a positive impact on some person's life, because probably it's just like one of those like pay it forward things. You had a friend of a friend or that friend who motivated you to do it, and now you're doing it, and now you've become someone that somebody looks up to, or you've influenced somebody to do this, and so it's that kind of rush that we crave. I think is that, man, like that's what I want back. I want that feeling of like being so proud of myself every single day. Like I want that feeling of being like someone that people are like, man, like they are doing this and they're killing it. Then when it gets done, it's just seriously, it's not about the race. Those are just like intermediate, like like when I used to work for Iron Tribe, is like we had these end of quarter meetings. Like that's really all they are. The meetings are pointless almost. It's all a review of what happened and how you got there and the good things, and then reviewing the things we may need to improve. And so that, I think that's what we crave. And ultimately, like we talked about, I don't remember what podcast number it was, but when we finish, we don't miss the finish line. We miss who we became and how we became on the way to get to the finish line. And that's what I feel like we get so disconnected to this time of year, is that rush, because it's not motivation. It's just being who you are in the best case scenario in a great environment that you created. It's just a different time of the year with something that's very far away. And so to sit back and reflect at your desk, in the car, on the couch, wherever it is you're listening to this, it's like you don't want another race. You just want to feel like you felt the weeks leading up to it, the day of the start of your race. Yeah. And the day after, when you were just so proud of yourself that like nothing could shatter your confidence. But it wasn't because you got a medal. It was because of what you had accomplished the months and almost sometimes years before that.
Well, there's something there too about, we talk about these biohacks and this, how fast everything's moving nowadays. And we think back to, there's stuff like when I was growing up and they were making vinyl records, right? I mean, and I'm not advocating for my time of life or anything like that, so bear with me here. But you used to hear, like, some of these albums, these classic records would take, at least a year to record and finish in the studio. And now things are popping out, 2 or 3 records a year, recording a whole record in 4 days, or these kind of things, or anything. It can be anything like that. Writing a book, like I read a book the other day, an older book that said that at the beginning it said this book took me over 3 years to research and interview people and whatever. And I don't think that, can we imagine, what that would take now? I mean, like to think, hey, let's write a book. Yeah, let's have it done by, in 2 weeks or whatever. And I think what happens is we all tend to want that quick fix, and we tend to like just churn out more and more content or whatever it may be, in posts and like results and putting stuff on Strava and it's all throwaway. So, there's so much a throwaway. It's kind of that like quick high that we seek all the time. And like you're saying, it's very difficult to kind of look at the big picture and sink in and build up over that time. It's almost like this time of year, it's either the secret is, that we either do too little or too much or both. And the answer is probably somewhere in the middle. And it starts with patience and just kind of being able to, like you're saying, be proud or be content with the process and what you've done right now, even though it's not, gonna end up draping a medal around your neck or whatever the case may be. And I just think, at least I personally, I'm sucked into that web. It's so easy to seek sort of that quick hack or whatever it may be. And, it's almost like some of these quick hacks, if you just pull back the reins on them a little bit and just sort of did them for a long time, they probably are good things, some of them, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know whether it's like the grapefruit
I think they're,
or what,
Yeah, I mean, I think they're good stepping stones, or maybe not stepping stones, right? I think they're good. They can be good experiences if you use them down, because more oftentimes than not, like a hacker, a person who loves hacks always love hacks. You always love the shortcut. Always. So do you ever fully, totally get or accomplish anything?
Right, you're moving to the next. It's just I do that all the time, man.
I'm just gonna jump. I'm gonna jump. And I'm like, just fucking focus for a minute and get the job done.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm gonna change this. I'm gonna do this. And people do all the time with triathlon because there's so many gears and there's so much gear and there's so many devices and so much this and so much that. I'm like, listen, if you can't, like, I posted this in our closed group the other day, or last night rather, because it was articulated much more eloquently than I would have put it. But it said, it's from Altus, who is a world-renowned like track and field group, and it says, why teach athletes calculus if they haven't mastered addition and subtraction?
Right.
Master the basics.
Mm-hmm.
And we can't do 2 + 2, so we immediately on our own on a piece of paper. So we immediately want to go spend $200 on a Texas Instrument calculator that'll do it all for us. And great, that might do you well, but you don't ever really learn anything.
Yeah.
And so that's what we find ourselves just jumping for one team. Like, for me, I mean, and this is like from outside looking in, like, this commitment you have to this yoga thing is about as committed I've seen you pretty much do anything.
That's a little harsh, dude.
No, I'm not saying like for Ironman training, but I mean like something that's not swim, bike, run.
Yeah.
Like you haven't missed. Like, and I knew when I texted her, I was like, I bet he's at yoga.
Yeah.
Like, when usually it would have been he's probably not awake yet. It's like, but I knew you were there because you have a different sound. You have like, you haven't really. You've always known, but you finally convinced yourself what you always knew, which was that, you know what, I can't just go to one. I've got to keep going, so I never have to come back again for the first time.
Yeah, yeah. And can I tell you how hard it was? Even though it was a 9:30 class for me, Jesus. I know. Well, but this is. I mean, it's not like I sleep 10 hours. Man, I'm up late. I'm listening to podcasts, and I'm kind of. And this is a weird part about my life is that I feel like amazing when it's going that, and I'm starting to listen to these cool podcasts and I'm learning all this stuff, and then I wake up in the morning, I just feel like I got hit by a truck sometimes. So, and it's probably just, maybe I slept really sound, but I do have trouble getting to sleep or whatever. But yeah, you're right. I'm making that commitment, and to me that I'm really getting back in touch with my body and like really feeling what's going on around it. And I mean, I've always kind of been that way, but today, like sometimes when I'm in that class, I'm just like, boy, I can't do this move, and I'm trying to be an athlete. I mean, it's just weird, but that's the kind of move that I will force in running or something, like over and over and over again. But it's not really smooth to do just in a casual way, And that's kind of been my motto, is just sort of like power up, man, and plow on, and eventually, like I said, I think it just sort of like bites you.
It does. But I mean, I have to give you a ton of credit, because I think it takes regardless of what it is, whether it's yoga or going into the gym or committing to some kind of form of cross training or getting in for your first swim or a different cycling, like committing to something that's brand new is really unnerving for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and to do it over and over again can be just like downright like Xanax popping material.
Right.
And like, we just love to stay in our own little bubble because it's comfortable. But that comfort is never where you succeed the most or find out the most about yourself. It's when you choose to do something uncomfortable that you don't like and that you're not comfortable with, and that's where you grow. It's like, do you want, like, if you took a flower and you just put a pot over it to care for it, what's going to happen? It's going to die.
Mm-hmm.
You cease to give it water and sun and it's like, you can't just like put yourself in a bubble. I mean, you can, but you're always going to restrain yourself, always. And that's just something that you've got to put yourself in uncomfortable situations if you want to truly figure out where you can go, instead of restraining yourself about where you want to stay.
Mm-hmm.
And we do it all the time, and I know it's hard because I've been there, I've done that, and it's hard for everybody, I think, but it's, and it's like it's just so funny, like when you think about it, like it's so easy to speak these like hopes and dreams and race schedules into existence, just like it's nothing, for thousands and thousands of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
But the little shit that we're supposed to do, that we need to do, that doesn't cost a dime usually, we just don't do it.
Yeah.
And sometimes just refuse to, or find a million other things to do.
Yeah.
And it's just that's what we have to, step back and realize and be like, yeah, like it's super easy to punch a button and sign up and drop, a lot of money, because it is for these races. But like, it's when you wake up in the morning at 4 a.m. or 4:30 and you've got an early flight to catch, but you chose to get up anyway and nobody was going to see it. And the only person that was going to know was either you or your coach, but you knew that you got it done.
Mm-hmm.
And like, for me, that's part of this commitment, is because I know that at some point I'm going to get sick, or something's going to come up, and I'm going to miss a couple of days. And so each day that I know that I'm set up for success, I'm healthy, I've got time, I can make it work, I get it in, because I know that when I do come down with something or something, because it's inevitably something's going to happen. Like, we're going to be thrown an obstacle.
Mm-hmm.
If I've been consistent and done my best up to that point, I'm not gonna feel as guilty and as anxious because, oh my God, I'm missing so much time, I'm gonna lose everything.
Yeah.
Like, no offense, but you're not gonna lose everything unless you've been gaining a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And that was part of my reason for just powering through and faking it till I made it Tuesday and Wednesday. It was like, I know that at some point something's gonna happen, so I'm gonna get them in now, because that's just life. I'm gonna be due for a 2 or 3 or 4 day layover. But that 2 or 3 day layover may not be fun, but if I can look back and think, see, you didn't skip any of these. It's like when we're sick and we're injured, we so much want to work out, but then we forget all the times we just chose not to, just because.
Right.
And you got to remind yourself on the flip side why it's important and why I need to be committed, because you never know where you're going to lose it. You never know when you get sick or anything, or a life circumstance is going to happen.
Right. And then you build on that stuff we talk about with regret, and a lot of times these little things that you're talking about, these things that people, and like with me, I'm terrible with that, because sometimes I do get sucked into like these hacky type, like, yeah, I just want to fix it quick, and you go balls out, that's what'll happen, is like, I'll get, yeah, there it is, there's the answer, I'm gonna learn the basics of Spanish in 3 days, and then then the next thing I know, I was like, see, I'm learning Spanish, and then and you kind of learn top line hello type stuff, or but it's not really it's not anything that sticks, or it doesn't feel good, because you just forget it. It's just sort of like you just plow through, do something, and you think mentally it's changing the world, but reality sets back in. Then you realize, like you're saying, man, the little things are the answer. There's no secret sauce. There's nothing like that. And it's just like, we all know these things, right? I mean, it's like, get up, you reflect, you do your gratitude mornings, and then you ease into your little workout or some kind of like meditation or something like that, and get your day going. And then just do what's in front of you, basically, you set it up and actually do it, and getting over those little hurdles. Like, I mean, when you get in the car like me this morning, and I'm sitting in the car and I'm going, God, I can't do yoga. You back out, you kind of like actually put it back in drive to come back in the driveway, and it's like, no, man, just go. Like, those moments are just incredible, but they get easier. I got to think. I think some days, like you're saying, you got to just fake through it and plow through it, and just get there and just get something.
No, that's it.
It's that momentum. Keep going in the right direction.
Just get a piece of something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sometimes I'm telling you, man, like if you're busy in life and you got a lot of life chaos going on, professional, personal, sport, whatever, like life is so much like just a freaking pinata. Like you just wake up every day, you feel blindfolded, you take a few swings, you may get a dent here and there, or you may just like epically whiff and fall over.
Mm-hmm.
But one day you're gonna just flat out just nail it.
Yeah.
And you're gonna reap all the rewards. Candy flying everywhere, dollar bills. I'm not sure they do some dollar bills and piñatas, but they should. But you get the picture. It's like it's never. Some days you just gotta keep swinging, and it's like that's the most. I remember when I played college tennis, like the most annoying, and this is the way I was in college too. And that's why it was even more frustrating when I would play these people, because I wasn't I didn't have the most power. I didn't have the greatest like skill set, but I got everything back. And it just infuriated people. No matter what you did, I was gonna give my all. I was gonna go all out. Yeah, at tennis.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna get every ball back. And it wasn't necessarily out hustling you, but I was going to make you hit the perfect shot.
Yeah.
Or what happened most of the time is you're going to become so impatient, you're going to do something that you're not, you really wouldn't want to do it under any other circumstances because you're not patient. And then I win the point.
Playing your own game. Racing your own race.
Seriously, racing your own race, playing your own game. It would just being consistent and think, if I just keep doing this, I know I've got a good chance of winning. Versus trying to be somebody I'm not, which would be like to serve and volley or come to the net and do this and then know I'm going to lose. But the glory in trying to do this and like, but yeah, I tried. Like, yeah, okay. You figure out after a few times, you know what you are. And the quicker you can realize that and accept that, you are where you are in this moment. But it doesn't have to mean you have to stay there. So don't jump ahead. Don't take a step back. Just be where you are. And then do the best you can with what you have. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I was able to use that, really, really well. But it's just like knowing your strengths, recognizing your weaknesses, and it's like, and just don't get caught up in the hacks and the ego and or being so down. It's just like there's so much you can learn about yourself, with being consistent, and you once you're consistent for like a certain amount of time, then you just crave it. It's not so much that you're just like, I just can't miss a workout. You're just like, I can't imagine. I remember what it felt like. And I think that's the biggest fear athletes have. They're not addicted to working out or missing a day. They're just terrified of becoming again who they were.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
As an athlete, and that's when, and you can hear it in their voice, and you can hear in like the text messages when they text me, or like, it's like we're working triage, and it's like you're not, just because it's one day doesn't mean you're now that person again. Like, and then they get super emotional with it and super like distraught. It's like, because it's again like they're terrified that they're going to become the person that they work so hard to distance themselves from. And one day's not going to change that, and a couple weeks may not change that, but the longer you go and the longer you stay away from that, the harder it's going to be. And, it's like the exact same thing. It's like they say you are the sum of your five closest friends or family. And like the farther you get away from that core and the farther you get away, like it's probably not something you want to look at in the mirror. It's probably not something you really, really, really want to be. And so the closer we can stay, and just like I really do, I think it's that feeling of I just don't want to go back.
Yeah. And every time you get those low energy moments, or when those thoughts really creep in, right?
It's the worst.
That's the time, and it's like, how on the earth can you feel like $1 million going to bed, and then wake up in the morning and kind of have like, I don't know if it's like purging something or what's going on, but sometimes like I'll get that Like, damn it, I thought I was way ahead of the game last night, and now I feel like I'm behind it. Or
vice versa.
Vice versa, exactly.
You go to bed feeling just like, God, tomorrow's gonna suck, and then you go out and you're like, holy crap, I can't believe it just happened. It's like, but like I said, you just got to keep swinging. But yeah, it is. It's those. I think it's those little times, and I think like mentally and emotionally, like we're easy to jump on ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
See, I knew you couldn't do this for that long. It was just this one time. It was just this or just that, and like you can't be committed that long. Nobody is. Can you do it twice? And the more pressure we put on ourselves, the more expectations. Like, they're fun to talk about, but they eat at you. They eat at us, and that's why weeks ago or whatever, like, we talked about signing up for a race for you and not telling anybody.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I think, like, if you're out there and you're struggling and to find something for you, or find something that you can gravitate towards, or find something that you can just kind of hang your hat on from a commitment standpoint that you just want for you. And you don't want to have to worry about speaking it into Facebook world and Instagram world and, Snap, Twitter, and all those kind of things. Like, you just want it for you. And you want to have it, and you want to wake up every day, and you want to walk outside in your front steps in the cold, fresh air and think, this one really is for me.
Yeah.
Because nobody else knows it. Or maybe you have like one person that you've told. But that's it. And sign up for it. 5K, 10, like whatever. Just do it. And then hold it in for yourself, because when you do it, it's going to, like, you'll know just for yourself what it took to get there because you didn't share it. Not that the sharing it is wrong, but I think it's just a good idea and a great approach for people who are looking to grab onto something. Like, grab onto it for you and hold it tight, and don't freaking share it. Or share it with one friend, and then commit to secrecy, or tell your coach that you want to do this, and then don't tell anybody else, and then just go do it. And then when you're done, be like, God, like, that is what it's supposed to feel like doing these incredible things, like years and years and years ago, like when content wasn't so freely available, when your life wasn't on everywhere, nothing was shared, then you just did things in places and nobody saw, nobody was around, but you had it for you. And those are like the experiences and the times and the events that happen that you'll literally never forget. And even if you can't share it, or nobody would believe you, or whatever it is, like, you know what happened.
Yeah.
And those things are really, really good.
That goes into your own lore category. It's like those kind of moments do really stick with you. It reminded me, when you were talking about that, it reminded me of my softball days, right? Like, we did all this competitive softball playing, and I was just like, I played baseball. I kind of went through the motions, and I was just good enough to play, and I went practice, whatever, but I never did anything above and beyond. And in my softball years, I just got the bug, and I would do workouts outside of the game, and we would travel around to, like, say, from southern or northern Illinois, we'd go to like Detroit and play in a tournament, and nobody was watching those games.
Mm-hmm.
We'd be playing these, we'd be in the 5th round of the tournament or whatever, just dragging our ass. But I would be making plays that I knew my work was paying off with. You know what I mean? It was like,
right.
I was doing that behind the scenes work, and I still remember some of those plays, and nobody saw them other than my team and the other team and a couple umpires. Yep. And it still makes me feel good, because I know that I put the time in, I put the effort in away from everything, and I just was doing it. There was no reason. I wasn't getting a dime. I was paying money, the same kind of thing, to go travel. But those are still some of the warmer moments that I can remember, like just a little celebrate. Like, I was playing with my brother back then, and he was playing second base, I was a shortstop, and we had some crazy, great, rewarding moments that surfaced in the game because we put in extra work.
Now let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
In those moments, are you more proud of the actual result, or that what you did was working and that or were you more proud of the work that got you to the moment, or were you more proud of the moment?
Well, I can tell you this, man. It was in a weird thing because like baseball to me was always scary. Every time I stepped on the field, I was afraid. I was good, but baseball has a way of really isolating mistakes. If you make an error, everybody sees it. I mean, there's no, like on a football field, sometimes there's so much action going on, and people, you don't really. Or basketball, you can kind of fudge it or whatever. But if you make an error or something like that, it was, it always like really was painful because then all of a sudden it's like, okay, I hope the next ball doesn't come to me, right?
Yeah.
And what I think, other than I was just, I think proud and relieved, I think it was all the back work because I realized that, I made myself better. And it gave me more confidence, and the whole experience became better, right? So that's like, I guess that's that can go into racing as well, right? You're not hoping for the best, and you're not like in the back of your mind thinking you're gonna, you can do something, but the odds of it are not as high.
Yeah.
And so it goes back to that extra work that comes into the under the spotlight, and then you're more comfortable in your own skin. And I think that feeling is where what I got the most out of it. It felt good, it just felt solid. That shit paid off, man. You saw it in action. It was dozens of hours, hundreds of hours in the background that come to fruition, and going into that game, and you just have a better feeling on the course or on the field or whatever it may be. And it's just, I don't know, it's like it's like you're not always looking around the corner and waiting for the other shoe to drop kind of thing. And
right.
And then I think that really translates into racing and like what we're talking about today, to be honest. I mean, it's like once you get to mile 18 and you have that solid base and you feel like you're going to do it or whatever, you just feel more full.
Because and that's why like the decision making process and in training or choosing not to train or during a hard workout, like you have to make those tough calls in order to be prepared and confident you can again make them on race day. Digging deep, when nobody's around. Or I just didn't have it in me, so I just cut it short.
Right.
Or I skipped that last interval because I knew I wouldn't hit my number.
Yeah.
Or those kind of things. But like it's like you gotta have a big enough shovel to dig yourself out of a big pile of crap during a race and get yourself back, to even ground. But if you just walk around with like a sandcastle type shovel all training year, and don't expect for miracles to happen and don't expect to rally. That's like one of the biggest, like one of the greatest things I see like with training stuff is like when people just totally like rally. Like an athlete earlier this week, he was on the treadmill and just didn't feel it, so she got off for a minute, went to the restroom, came back and got back on it, finished. Just for the sake of trying to finish and see what would happen. And like those kind of workouts are the one you remember. But I remember I used to feel like crap, and I was like, and then it turned out this, or the first 25, for athletes that are really, really consistent, like the first 10 to 15, 20 minutes, they usually feel like just total garbage.
Yeah, they do.
Because your legs are, they've got a heavy load in them, they're not super rested, and you're like, God, this whole thing's gonna suck. And then you get after that, and you're like, oh, hello there. Your legs wake up and fire. But the more consistent you are, the more you remember it, so it makes it easier. Like the feeling doesn't get easier, but the feeling that knowing it will pass is more, towards the front of your mind. And so that's why like practicing those things and with training, and it's like that just sets yourself up for racing as well.
If I could go, when I think about my Ironman races, for example, and you talk about the chassis and building that, and it's sort of like in some races, the very end, you're kind of like, trying to time it out where you're just like, you're going to, leave it on the course. But there's been some Olympics and even some halves I've done where towards the end of the run, I actually, even though I'm not stronger, I kind of have this feeling in my soul and my gut that I'm stronger at that point, even though you're not necessarily going super fast or whatever. But it's kind of like that, building that baseline. But like a lot of times, I feel like what happens to me in Ironman is I keep throwing cheap fuel on the, that's that nutrition piece where it's like you keep reaching for goo or keep going for, you're burning little sticks instead of burning logs,
Mm-hmm.
And it's that, I guess that's that feeling of contentment or that stability inside of you that comes from doing the work ahead of time or doing the proper amount of work and doing little things like that. So that's kind of how I look at it. I feel like that's what's been happening. I just haven't, done the appropriate amount of little things when no one's watching, kind of thing.
Yeah. But the most important person that's watching is you.
Exactly. That's what I mean. Yeah, you have to find that. That's the why, right? And you have to. It can't be. You run out of gas when you that first Ironman I did when I was posting it all the time and we were talking about it and everything. That was fuel. That kind of, it wasn't the right, but it worked for me.
Yep.
But then it's like you got to face reality after that. It's like, okay, I can't keep using that same. I can't go to that same well. I got to really do some work here, and how do I get better? It's not external drivers. It's always going to be an internal driver.
Right.
That really makes the difference.
Yep.
And we've got a lot of internal drivers in the Crushing Iron group on Facebook.
We do. A lot of great internal drivers. If you're not part of the group, we have people coming in daily, or at least knocking on the door. And if you want to be part of our very positive conversation during what can be a very isolating and dull and unmotivating time of the year, you can always look us up on Facebook under Crushing Iron Group, or look us up on Twitter at Crushing Iron, Instagram at C26_triathlon. And if you want any more additional information on gear, camps, swim analysis, coaching, all things C26 and Crushing Iron, you can go to our one-stop shop, which is crushingiron.com.
Yep, that's good. And I think you talked about lurkers in our Facebook group, and, and it seems to have worked. So there's a lot of people in there I know who have not kind of introduced themselves and kind of told a little story about them. Because I think that's at the core of what we want in there, is people making friends and connecting with each other. So it doesn't have to be a novel, but just come in and tell us a little bit about you and how you got into the sport and why you got into the sport and why you like it, what maybe your challenges are, whether it be certain ages, injuries, or family, whatever. And there's people in there that have been through it and or are going through it and want to connect. I think it's a good way to sort of, there's 650 people in there, and there's no way to expect that we're going to be friends with everybody, but are tight with everybody. But you know what I mean? Like that's an overwhelming thought too. Is like there's a lot of people in there, but you post something and someone reads it and they connect with it because they've gone through the exact same thing or really relate to it. I think that's where the value lies sometimes, and who knows, there's a lot of people probably in your neighborhood in there that maybe you can get out there and work out with or whatever. So there's the value. We like to try and keep it keep it real and good connective type stuff in there, less of the stuff I used to always see in other groups like that. But I just think it's kind of been really cool, and there's a lot of cool people in there that get it and have come together through this podcast and through our conversation, through conversations we had with them, and just kind of let us know who you are, man. Reach out, and you never know what's going to happen. I mean, you never know what's going to happen in life until you make a move. You send an email, you post something about yourself, and then your dream could be waiting around the corner. Just make that one step, reach out and talk to somebody, share your thoughts or ideas. And I think those are the things in life that we kind of underestimate sometimes. It just, you know, I don't know, magic can happen with one little action. So,
Yep.
What do you think of that? You down?
It's a great place to end. I love it.
Okay. All right, so we'll end it there. And there's got to be something else, no?
No, I think we're good.
You pretty fired up?
I was, man. I poured it all in, man. We're about an hour deep. That's my cup is empty. It was empty.
That's right about our limit.
I gotta go refill it. Yep.
Yeah, that's just about the sweet spot. Okay, that sounds great, man. I will talk to you soon. Thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for being awesome.
We'll check you next time.
All right, buddy. See you.
See you.